Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast episode number 3. My name is Ashwin, and this is my partner Anmol. And our podcast name is the Young Turk Dialogues, as all of you are aware. Anmol, I'll let you introduce the topic for today, what we are going to talk about.
Yeah, so after talking about the two topics that are totally related to our business, today we are going to talk about a little bit more specialized topic. So, and it's one of our favorite topics. Like me and Ashwin, we constantly discuss about how to make great brands, what these great brands have done till date. So we do a lot of brainstorming on this. So that's why we got to share all what we have learned over the journey with you guys, and to know what you guys have done differently. So after this podcast, when you watch it, we would like to hear your opinions as well. So
And your stories.
and your stories, exactly, and your stories. So today's topic is totally about branding and how you can build great brands, and what great brands have done till date to become what they are today. So let's start the topic by first discussing what branding is. So Ashwin, here I would like to would like you to tell the audience what branding is, because you have worked with a lot of these luxurious brands and you have seen the world more than I have. So you have much more bigger perspective of what branding is. So please.
Right, Anmol, actually, it's not about who has seen the world more. But yes, definitely I've had exposure to some really great brands of hotels that I've worked with. But at the same time, I'm the same person who says that hotels don't have a brand, they have logos.
Yeah.
Right. However,
Elaborate on this a bit more. Like on the last podcast, I remember you told that you will tell the audience a bit later about
exactly.
this.
Right. So let's come to that. Let's understand what is brand first, right? What is
Right.
the difference between a brand and a logo? Because most of us, our clients, or most of the people that we talk about, or even as a matter of fact, when you and I, when we were beginning this business, right, with our own company, we wasted a lot of time on creating a logo, right?
Right.
Uh,
Great.
However, down the line, after we had heard and spoken to a lot of experts, and everyone came to us and told, see, Ashwin, don't waste your time on logo. Logo is just a figure that you may use, and it may change over the time as well. But what is gonna stay with you is your story and your purpose. So you basically, the brand is defining your purpose and your story. So your client, your or your target audience should be able to identify with your brand, right? With you, your purpose, and that is what will bring them to you. So we will elaborate it as it goes. The chat goes. We'll come to the technical aspects of
Right.
it and how to build a great brand.
Right.
So yeah.
So,
This is what.
now let's talk a little bit about why branding is important for a business, because like you and we on a daily basis experience this with our clients. Like recently, only when we were discussing with one of our prospects. So,
Right.
like I would like to share with the audience, when I met this prospect, they totally had no idea the importance of branding and how it impacts their their course of the business, because when you are targeting a niche market, how will people recognize you? What is the USP? What is the unique thing about your brand that will make you remember them? So like here I would like to give example of when I go to a supermarket. Whenever I go in the detergent section, or that section, and I see that branding of Tide. So like from a long distance I can recognize what Tide is, which brand is which. And if it was not there, then probably I would have gotten Surf Excel or any other brand. But all these brands, they have a unique identity, they have a unique recognition, and that's what
Right. But you
brought
know what, Anmol? This is where, sorry, I interrupted you here. This is where, the difference between the logo and a brand comes. Logo is a
right.
part of brand, right? It's a part
Exactly.
of brand. It is not the entire brand itself, right? So, like you
Exactly.
said, you can identify Tide by looking at its not exactly the brand, but its logo. And when you have made up your mind that you want to buy Tide,
Right.
and you go into the shop and all these detergents, and you know where Tide is kept. So that
Exactly.
is the purpose of logo, right? So that you can locate what you want. How
Exactly.
it is your guiding light. It's the lighthouse in the ocean, which beacons you. But what made you move towards that logo? Was it that boring way Tide is written in a circle? Or let's forget about boring. I have made a very interesting horseman with a sword as my logo, which you might like. But would that drive you towards a detergent? No.
No, it won't.
Yeah, it is the story that Tide built over the time. When you watch their advertisements
Advertisements on the TV.
and the perception that they created in your head that Tide chonk gaya kya? Remember that
Yes, 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 exactly.
packet used to cross and clean used to look cleaner.
Clean
And
used to be cleaner. Right.
cleaner, so Tide created that perception in your head,
Right.
so and so somewhere most of us 80 I mean what I have read and what the statistics say is 81% of us do the buying or go or we purchase things just by the perception of the brand that we have in our head. For
So
example, I am a Royal Enfield loyalist. That bike has 100 different defects. Oil
right.
leakage. It is not the best bike. Maybe it is not the worst bike in the market, but it is not the best bike.
Right.
But I identify myself somewhere, you know, the story, the aura that they have built around that bike. I, I kind of it creates an awe for me, and I want to be associated with that. The kind of person rides a Royal Enfield. Somewhere as a kid, it went into my head that I want to be that person.
Exactly. Like, same is the case with the Harley Davidson and all of these big brands which are community driven.
Right,
Right.
right. So if you remember this morning, I was talking to you about brand archetype. So archetype is basically creating a typical perception about someone, right? So
Right.
what is the archetype of a Royal Enfield? Of a Harley Davidson man. He's an outlaw. He's a big guy.
Right.
He has that ruffy mustache and beard, and he's not afraid of anything, right? So that is the archetype that so. There are I'm forgetting how many, but there is an archetype wheel, and that is what most of the popular brand use to define themselves.
What we can do is
So,
for our audience, we
so
will add the archetype here in the video. So you can.
yes, if you can share the screen and show them the archetype wheel, that will help them a lot
Right.
to understand what is an archetype wheel. So it helps you define your target audience, basically the personality of your target audience. When we create a buyer persona, archetype helps us a lot. We when we are thinking, okay, what sort of person we want our brand to be associated with, right? So uh, are you sharing the screen, Anmol?
Yes, yes, I am sharing the screen.
Right. So there are, I'll tell you, there are basically 15 different archetypes that have been divided by Carl Jung. He's a psychologist and the author of the book. And he had defined all these different kinds of archetype.
Right.
So, where Harley Davidson identifies as an outlaw, and if
Right.
you see the Harley, all the outlaw gangs and the motorcycle gangs in the United States, it's kind of mandatory for them to ride a Harley Davidson, and you know
Right.
what sort of person is riding it. So,
Exactly.
an outlaw is the person who's more, who values liberation in his life more. He's not bound by anything. He's not entrapped in an office. He has his own life. He can get up and leave any day. So
Right.
he's the kind of guy who. So what does he want? The best vehicle ever that could take him away from the sticky situation, and then that is his Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Right.
And they have so when they defined it, they were so clever. I mean, I'm just thinking, what better way to define a motorcycle? After the horses, it was the motorcycles, right? And
Right.
horses and motorcycles were I didn't the symbolism, when you talk about symbolism, they symbolize freedom and liberation, that you just ride away into the sunset wherever you want, right?
Right. Totally.
So
Totally. And that's
yeah.
where, like, now let's talk a bit about, right now, world's most valued companies, Apple. And we all know, like,
Hmm.
we all are attracted to Apple in some way or the other. So what Apple has
Right.
done unique, it's mainly their branding, right? They are
It is
attracting
the
creators.
branding.
It is branding. They are attracting creators, and, like, people like you and me who are working, building this digital transformation firm, and we are always, attracted to Apple. Like recently when we bought, when we were, planning on to buy a PC for our designer. So the first thought
Right.
that came to mind was, let's go for an Apple,
Right.
right? Why, every time we think design, every time we think, great work, Apple comes to our mind. So if you remember,
Because
Ashwin,
I'll
Apple.
tell you why, Apple, because it is the creator archetype, and you
Right.
want to identify as a creator. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. So, like I was telling the audience, if you remember, Ashwin, like in 1999 or 1998, there was a campaign that came out. It was named as the Think Different campaign. When Steve Jobs, after he was fired, he came back to Apple, and this was the first campaign he launched. So the campaign
Right.
name was Think Different. They didn't promoted any of their products in that campaign, but what they showed was, all of the great people, someone who has done something for the world, who has made an impact. And that
Right.
campaign, if you see after that, how much Apple has boomed after that. And till date, people consider that campaign as, one of the greatest campaigns that they have ever built. So
Right.
that is one of the examples, where brand building happens. Most people, they are always focused on what you and I have. If you see, 90% of our clients, they come directly, okay, what I need to do is I just need sales. But no one focus on this aspect, which is very necessary for any brand. If you see Harley Davidson, like one of our colleagues, me and Ashwin's colleagues, he is a common friend as well. So he's in Harley Davidson. So 90% of the time, what these brands are doing, they are doing events, they are doing rides, and they are doing, they are going to some cafe or something. They are showing off what gears they wear and all of those things, and that is the reason
Right.
most of the Harley sales are happening. If you see,
Exactly. Mhm.
exactly, right. And this is where, like, I see, these days the opportunity lies, because maximum
Right.
people, they just come to us. Acha, we want performance marketing. You just run the ads for us. No one wants to focus on to, build a brand. And after that, after some time, things start to go, haywire. They get confused. What should I do now? What is the next step for my brand? And here comes the factor of why. Like you and I, we were discussing, if you remember,
Right.
2 years back, what is our why? And we, had a 2 to 3 day constant conversation, what exactly we want to do with this brand. And that's,
Correct.
if you remember, we corrected our pricing, we corrected who we want to reach out, we defined the audience, and everything. This doesn't did not happen when we just decided, okay, this is the budget we have, we just want to run that. But we focused on brand building. And right now,
Right.
when we started to work on this podcast, that's what we did here as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. So now let's talk a little bit more about, from the perspective in having a strong brand identity for,
Mhm.
these companies that are upcoming. So what they can do, to build this strong identity for themselves,
See,
where they should be starting out.
basically, to build a strong brand identity, you need to have a good brand strategy. Right.
Right.
So, a brand strategy. Sorry, I'll read this out because it is a very important thing. I don't want to miss anything out of here. So brand strategy should include a detailed audience persona. You have to define like that. That is where that is why I discussed the archetype first, because you need to define your persona first. The what kind of people you're going to cater. That should
Right.
be clear in your head. Right. For example, Chai Sutta Bar, or it was Chai Point, or
Right.
MBA Chai Wala. They all had their audience clear in mind, and that is the reason for the success in the market. Right.
Right.
So then it comes the competitive analysis. It's very basic. You might think branding is very complicated, but it is something that you are already thinking, but it has to be very systematic. So a third would be differentiation and positioning strategy. How do you differentiate yourself? Okay. Now you've done your competitor analysis. Now you know that there, like Chai Sota Bar knows that there was already Chai Point. There's MBA Chai Wala. How did they differentiate themselves? They probably give themselves a more loungish feel. And Chai Sutta Bar, they associated with people who smoke. So Chai and Sutta goes together. So they
Right.
create, I'm just thinking, giving you very vague examples, but yes. So differentiation and positioning is very important. And next comes human brand persona and personality. You have to define the personality again. The
Right.
personality of your brand. That is, after you have these things clear in your head, you start creating the personality of your brand. Right. Then comes the brand voice. What is the tone that you have? Right, like Nike has just do it. It
Right.
creates a sense of urgency. Why? It is
Sense-
catering to athletes. It
Right.
needs you to feel fast. Right, there is a sense of urgency. So I mean, what kind of tone and tonality that your brand creates. Then comes the communication framework. You have to, after you have decided your brand tone, that's when you have to decide your communication framework. And then the brand message. After the communication framework is there, then you set the brand message in the place. Then brand storytelling framework comes after that. You start creating the story around your brand after you have put these things together. That is, all these things help you create a story of your brand, and at last you put together the marketing strategy based on all these factors.
Right. And here again, I would like to, get back to that point when you told that, you know, logo is just a small part of branding where most people get it wrong. So, like I was giving the example, Ashwin. So, like getting back to that example where you just told the audience that, you know, logo is just a small part of the branding, and that's where most people get wrong. So, like what the pointers that you just told. So, audience, you need to remember these are very important pointers. Most brands, most startups, most small business, they're not focusing on this part of it. Like most people, they have a perception, okay, I need to get my branding done, it's just a logo, it's just a tagline, that's all, my branding is done. Or some might consider, okay, colors and fonts, that's all. But what I have seen is many people ignore what is their brand tone, what is the messaging framework, how are they going to be reaching their audience. So here we can add that one more important quote that Jeff Bezos once said, your brand is what people talk when you're not in the room.
Correct.
Correct. So, it fascinates me. Like recently, also, when I visited this prospective client, they were just totally hooked to their logo only. They didn't knew about that, branding is such a big piece of, to start with their business. And when you have such a, because when we start our companies, we we cater to a specific niche, we cater to a specific client because we cannot go big. So, branding is really important, I feel. So now, like Ashwin, let's talk about, what is the role of, marketing in branding?
Well, branding is a part of marketing, as you know, right? I mean, like I said, I gave the entire framework. So without all these steps, it begins with branding and it ends with the entire marketing strategy, which is based on the brand story and the storytelling that you created. Right.
And like,
So
elaborate on this part of it, we can, recently when we were having a discussion with our team, so we showed them that Cadbury campaign. So you gave some insights on
correct.
that, like what happened. So, you can tell the audience about that part of it.
Right. So there was a point of time like when we were kids. So Cadbury's and Amul chocolate. At that time, all the toffees and all the sweets that came in wrapper were collectively called chocolates, and it were meant for the kids. So both Cadbury's and Amul chocolate, they came up with different sets of campaigns, but they were targeting the adults. So the ad that you're talking about, I don't know if we can show it,
Yes, yes.
but
I will
it's
put
due
the
to
link.
copyright reasons. Yeah.
I will put the link in the description for our audience to go and watch it, and we can
Right, right. So you could check the link in the description. So it's basically the girlfriend is sitting in the audience, and the she of a cricketer, and he hits a six, and then the song plays "Kya Baat Hai Zindagi Mein," and she comes and gives him Cadbury chocolate in mouth. So it looks very romantic, and then the cricket fever at that point of time.
Right.
So it was meant to change the perception of chocolate from a kid's sweet meant for kids to for adults as well. That is something that even boyfriends and girlfriends, or even a husband wife can share with each other. Much later than that, say 10 years after that, they came up with another campaign. Cadbury's came up with the campaign "Kuch Meetha Ho Jaye,"
Huh.
where they wanted to replace and they showed these beautiful Cadbury boxes being gifted during Diwali, and they are still available in the market now.
Right, right.
Right?
And every time, when
Right.
Holi and Diwali comes in, the
Holi,
most
Diwali. Yeah.
after Son
So
Papdi is Cadbury
so
Daily.
instead of Son Papdi, it is Cadbury chocolate that you're giving. So it was positioning themselves. That is when they were thinking like, why should we miss out on the adult market? Though
Exactly.
even adults were having chocolate, and
Right,
they were hiding it and having it. Right.
right,
So same thing. Amul was doing it for a long time, where they used to say Amul chocolate, a gift for someone you love.
right,
So it could be anybody, right? So that, and it is a very old ad. So this is about creating the perception and building the story around your brand. And the story has to be very subtle. It does not have to. It should not be in your face, right?
right,
This is the difference between branding and hard selling advertisements, where you are pushing it into someone's face. That is where you talk more about the product and its utility. But these ads are so subtle that you don't need to sell hard sell your product. It automatically sells to the right audience.
right. Basically, these ads, target some part of your brain subconsciously. So, like
Mm.
something like if you see these days, anything if it goes viral, we somehow relate to it. We don't know why, because someone has put
Right.
that time and effort and research into it, and then build that ad to just show you and target a part of you that has been hidden in you. So
Exactly. Why do people buy iPhones?
exactly, exactly,
Why did I spend extra money and bought an iPhone again?
right,
So and I have got friends who make fun of me, like you iPhone wala, But and I sometimes think, okay, why did I spend extra? I could have bought OnePlus for and gotten much better
exactly. But now,
features.
if you see in the market, Ashwin, like I was seeing a video yesterday. So some guy he has put his iPhone 14 Pro in the grass, and and the other guy has put his Samsung. I think it was S 23 or something in the grass.
Mm.
So you could not make out where the Samsung phone was, but you could easily make out where the iPhone was because of the display difference. Still, people will go for iPhone.
Right.
People
Right.
like, since if Samsung provides you better quality, still people not will not go for it. They will go back to iPhone
Right.
only.
I mean, what was that phone that I showed you the ad the other day, which with that big camera? Some.
Right, right, right. Oh yes, yes,
I mean, there's such good phones in the market right now. Like,
yes.
nothing is able to, shake iPhone's
Exactly,
dominance in the market. And it is all the brand story that they have created around it.
exactly. And like if you see this consistency, they maintain in their Apple events as well. So in the
Hmm.
event, they will in the recent event that happened last year September. So I was watching that event, and I was excited about it. I told you that today I won't come to work in the night and I will watch the event. So when I watched the event, they were talking about Apple watches. So if you remember, like they have bought this new watch which cost around 90,000 or something. So they, in that watch advertisement, they didn't show the watch first. They just talked about the experiences. So how many people who were about to get a heart attack, they got notified by the Apple Watch, or how many who were in a typical tough situation, or something happened and they use their Apple Watch to notify their family. So they displayed these kind of things rather than just showcasing, okay, this is our product, it got this technical feature. Of course Apple does that, but it does later afterwards.
Hmm.
First it showcases what impact the product has made. So I think that has made a lot of impact. And
And
recently even
Anmol, even in sales, that is the correct way of selling. You don't straight
right,
away start talking about the features. You talk about it's called value proposition.
right,
Where you speak to the client and you talk to him about his requirements. You make him say that he needs it, and then that's when you show your product and ask him, does it fit your requirement or not? Right.
exactly. And that's where most people get the sales wrong as well. If you see,
That is why sales and marketing are spoken in the same breath, because one is the mother of the other. It's like the chicken egg story, but right. So they both go hand in hand.
right. Totally agree, totally. So like now let's to talk like most of the people who are seeing the podcast right now are small business owner or medium business owners who does not have a really big budget to heavily invest into these kind of advertisements, that kind of research or something. So now let's give them a little bit insight into how they can do, and how we have helped the brands that we have worked with doing this.
Yeah, well, the brand story and the logo, I always say yes. Huge companies spend a lot of money in creating the whole fuss around it. Uh, where the smaller firms or smaller businesses can save on all of this trouble is by creating, first of all, just define. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it. You just have to have the right thought process. Right. First of all, decide who you are catering, and then please don't spend money on creating a logo. Just a plain name. I mean, we have had clients who spent their entire savings on a logo, but
Yes.
just pick anything. I mean, like Steve Jobs just picked an apple, and it has an iconic logo to this date. It's a very basic logo, right? So just don't spend too much time and money on that. Get your business started first. Understand who's your target clientele. It's very easy when your business is small and you are dealing with simple products. For example, we had one of our clients who was into organic farm producers. So this is not a very niche market, but like an iPhone. But here, if you're selling organic produce and imported vegetables, there is a certain kind of clientele who will buy it, and it's very easy to identify it. It's not a rocket science. So understand that, and understand what sort of language that audience speaks, what tickles their brain, which city you are based out of. For example, this particular business is based out of Bangalore, so there is a certain way Bangaloreans speak. There's a certain way the Bangaloreans look, and they have a language. So just identify that, and that is what we did over here. Here, the audience is very tech savvy. Most of them are techpreneurs, or they are into IT firms, multinational companies, or they're working in some corporate firms, right? And his target audience was all the premium apartments and societies in Bangalore. So we started creating the meme and pun marketing for them, and that would suit the palate, and that would attract, and it gained us a lot of audience. uh, Same thing with the color palette and the that we had picked up. It was to suit the Bangalore mood. We went ahead with a very pastel green and happy colors that people like over here, and that defines the Bangalore weather. So it's no rocket science, and sometimes you can do away with a little bit of trial and error, see what works for you and what is not working for you, and that is
Right.
how marketing works.
Exactly. And like here, I would like to tell the audience a little bit more about this specific brand that Ashwin just told. So when we ran their ads, we did a lot of testing. Like there were, I think, 10 ads initially that we tested out with different kind of messaging that resonates with our audience. So we run the ads for some time, then we see which ads work, what is the brand messaging that people are relating to, and then we finalized on a message. And we didn't shoot it everything, and we had a very heavy production house or something. We just made basic videos from our mobile phones or iPhone. So that's what we did to gain that kind of an audience. So we didn't do anything very heavy in terms of the production, but what we focused more on the research and what resonates with our audience. So that's where I think the recipe to take your brand to the market and succeed on social media lies in. Because most people, they just go to the okay, I need a production house, I need you know g- I need really great packaging, or I might need really good logistics, or all of those things. Those things matter, but until and unless your audience relates, how will they come to you and buy things from you? Why they should be?
This is where branding and marketing is important. Like even before you have decided the product or business you want to get in, you have to
Right.
decide whom you're going to cater.
Exactly.
That is why I say, what is marketing? You have to decide if the market is there or not.
Right.
Right? I would like to sell the Kohinoor diamond, but who would buy it? Is there a market out here?
Totally.
Right? There's no one who's going to buy it. Probably someone will snatch it from me. That is a different story.
Exactly.
But where would I sell it? Do I know that market or not?
Right.
Am I? How do I create a presence out there? Right. So that is the whole purpose of marketing and storytelling, and the creating the persona in the beginning itself.
Right.
So that you create a product or you get into a product that would sell in that market.
Right. And like from this, I remember, if you see the data, most of the leads that come to us, and when we tell them why branding is important for them, so they ask us a question: how will I know if this is if what you do in the branding will work for me or not? So this is a very tricky question that client that we face. So like I would like to explain you to the audience how we are going to be measuring the success of the campaigns, and the branding that we do for them.
Okay, so Anmol, like I've said before, and we have spoken to our clients, there's no particular recipe to it.
Right.
Right, and we are in the field of marketing, and then again we are digital marketers. We believe in testing, right? So that is what I said before, also in this conversation, that it's better to test it out, right? So if you feel there are the content that you're putting out in the on online is working or not, if you have doubts, better put it out and test.
Right.
Yeah, go with smaller samples, and or use a different platform. And best way is to run a questionnaire, also run a survey. You can meet 10 different people, ask about their perception about what you have thought, right?
Right.
Because again, so you spoke about Jeff Bezos. There's another saying in marketing: brand is not what you say it is; it is what people say it is, what they say
Right.
it is. Right. So you need to know. We might come up with an idea and think, "Oh, this is brilliant," But and this is where 99% of the businesses fail, is
Right.
because they think their idea is great, but it actually is worthless in the eyes of
The customer.
the customer.
Right.
Right. And this is where I said maybe your market is wrong. Probably
Right.
your product is brilliant. It could be the Kohinoor diamond, but it is not meant for that market.
Exactly. Totally
Right.
agree.
Whether the affordability is not there or not, if the affordability is there, whether the mentality is there not or not. So the
Right.
best way is to ask questions. Go ahead and ask. Talk to people.
Right.
And be very brave in taking feedbacks, which people are not, because we get attached to our ideas.
Exactly. And this is where we come in. Like for our audience, like when our clients come and ask us, like, you are going to do this for me, I can do this on my own. Okay, you do this. But can you do these things? All of these things that we just told you. Because it's not just a one day process that, okay, I made this logo, I did this survey, okay, that's it. It's a continuous process that has to go on. You need to constantly take your feedback from the audience. You need to constantly evolve. Like if you see, uh, Apple logo, when it started, it was a very big logo. Newton was there, Apple falling, and it was a very big logo. And it evolved with the time as the brand evolved. So that's what branding is. It's a constant process. It's not just a one day thing that I will do and then
Yes, it has evolved with time. No,
yeah,
earlier the apple was a rainbow color. Now it's
exactly,
plain black and plain white. Why? The audience has changed.
exactly,
The way people look at things has changed.
exactly,
The screen resolution has changed.
right,
You have to see, right?
exactly,
Earlier, when Apple was running its ad, it was that old tube TVs.
right,
Now you have these high resolution HD TVs. So
right,
the phone's resolution is better than the TVs that we used to have,
exactly.
right? So what would look nice on it? That is also important.
That is
So
very
that is
important.
why don't break your head and don't spend money on logo. First thing, because that is something that can evolve over the time and you can get it changed.
Right.
And no one would complain.
Totally. And here we can give the example of Cred as well. Their UI UX, if you see, that is their product that they are selling. Like Cred got
Right.
famous for their user experience only, right?
Mm.
Their branding is very, very clear if you see. Like whenever I open that app, I know what I am getting into, what I am seeing. So, that is also one of the good examples that we can give to our audience. Okay, so now I think today we have talked enough about branding. So let's summarize it a bit, Ashwin. So, what we talked about for our audience.
Mhm.
So,
So yeah, summarizing is like, yeah, first of all, like I said before, decide what is your story, what is your audience, and then decide your product accordingly. Create a story, then build a story around it. So basically, in a nutshell, have a good strategy. The points that we have discussed, the brand strategy and brand strategy framework. I'll ask Anmol to put it in the description as well, and we will share a few links also that we used to enlighten ourselves and enrich our knowledge. So you can, internet is a huge database. Everything is available out there. Do your bit of study. Do your bit of study. Don't be shy of asking people what they feel, and be brave enough to take feedback.
right. Beautiful lines.
Be ready to say, to accept that your idea was wrong,
Right.
because nothing worse than being stuck in a bad marriage and with a bad idea.
Right.
Right.
Totally. Awesome. Then I think for today, that's our episode, audience. So do share your feedback in the comment section, and if you like it, share it to your friends, family, and someone who needs to know what branding is. We will be starting by posting small clips of this episode on Instagram and other social media channels that we have. So you can follow us there as well. We'll put the social media links down in the description. Thank you so much again for watching. We will see you around soon.